Okay, welcome to Introduction to Neurophysiological Psychology, or Psychology 451. This class is going to cover the basics, right, of the brain and nervous system. So we're going to be delving into neurons, the cells that make up, a large portion of our brain and nervous system. We're going to be focusing on glial cells, which make up another huge portion of our brain, and nervous system. We're going to be looking at, the points of connection, where neurons meet each other and how information travels along, like axons, for example, in neurons. We're going to be looking then at synapses, right, and how information is conveyed from one neuron to the next across a synapse in the form of the release of a chemical neurotransmitter. We'll be examining the various neurotransmitters, that our nervous system utilizes for chemical communication at synapses. We're going to be examining sort of larger scale brain structures, right? So like the various lobes of the brain, some of the, critical sort of subcortical, below the outer cortex or bark of the brain, subcortical regions and networks in the brain that contribute to our perception, our cognition, and our behavior. And we're also going to be taking a deep dive into the techniques that are available to neuroscientists, that scientists use to basically examine the anatomy and also the function, right, of our brain and nervous system. So we're going to be looking at neuroanatomical techniques, electrophysiological techniques that rely upon detection or disruption of electrical activity in the brain, genetic techniques, which there's a lot of significant advancement in this area, and also what are very popularly known imaging techniques like MRI or fMRI, right, or PET. And we're going to be sort of examining these various techniques, both for their advantages and what they are able to reveal, basically, about brain structure and function, but also with an eye towards their disadvantages, right, their limitations, and how they may, in some cases, sort of play into our biases when there's not really justification for interpreting things to that extent, right? Because there are limitations to these techniques. They tell us some things, but they obscure or don't tell us other things, right? And we're going to also be focusing on sort of specific topics in cognition too, including attention, both sort of internally directed sort of rumination, right? And, memory, planning, things like that, but also sort of externally directed orienting, what determines, where we spend our conscious attention, right? Where do we direct our conscious attention? What's going on, what networks, what regions are kind of involved. We'll also focus quite a bit on feeling and the brain, and, areas that are involved in, sort of your felt perceptual experience, about certain circumstances or situations, or stimuli, in your environment, et cetera. So I'm really looking forward to, the topics that we're going to be describing and discussing and exploring, across this term. I should note that this Introduction to Neurophysiological Psychology course, Psych 451, is followed by Psych 452 in winter term. If you're interested, we actually go further because we integrate in this course, which is called Advanced Neurophysiological Psychology, we integrate current graduate students from Oregon Health and Science University who are engaged in NIH-funded research on, drugs in the brain, memory in the brain, consciousness in the brain, adolescent brain development, anxiety, depression, a whole host of really fascinating and kind of key and important sort of topics. And they will be present in our advanced course and, be letting you know about, how these topics are explored, what techniques are actually utilized, what are some of the limitations that they're running up against, what is the language that's used in research. It's a really great way to kind of connect with ongoing research in the Portland area. So this course is a hybrid course. So we're going to have synchronous in-person classes on the Portland State University campus every Monday. All the details on where we're meeting, etc., are going to be found on our Canvas course site. We're going to meet Wednesdays online for synchronous Zoom class sessions, and also Fridays online, on Zoom again for review. All Zoom sessions, but not the in-person sessions on campus, but all the Zoom sessions are going to be recorded and posted on Canvas, for viewing by anyone at any time. And to sort of get started in this course, you're going to want to click on modules, right? And there you're going to find a whole host of information. There's the course syllabus right at the top. If it gets updated, I'll add a new date for the update. All of the due dates for assignments, the quiz availability dates, then the quizzes and the exams are all going to be, online. There's no on-campus, requirement for any kind of assessment or, assignment. All of the due dates, though, and the availability dates, et cetera, are going to be in that course syllabus. So please go check the course syllabus on our Canvas course site under modules. Then there's a whole section on getting started. So there's a very important module under getting started called frequently asked questions. So we did this actually so you get faster information. Like if you have a question about something, possibly another student has had a similar question and we've heard this before. So we wanted to make sure that we have a place that you can go to and you can get those questions, answered as quickly as possible. We also have here in the syllabus, but also on the Canvas course site, all of our email addresses. So if there's a question that's not, answered in the frequently asked questions module, please feel free at any point to email us. And we would love to hear from you, and we'd love to try to get back to you as quickly as possible. There's information under getting started on how to organize like a student hour, like to come in and talk about something individually that you'd like to have like addressed, right? There's also the PSU Student Code of Conduct and Responsibility. There's information about plagiarism and avoiding plagiarism. You're going to be making a number of like projects, including some art projects during this term, and it's very important, obviously, to do your own work. There is information about how textbooks are not required in this class. All the material that you're going to need for this term is actually here on Canvas. It's either, NIH funded, so it's already been publicly funded and you paid for it, or it's Creative Commons, work, or it's materials that I have organized or, fellow students have actually organized, in the past. There's information about our weekly discussion forums. You're going to be expected to post responses to discussion forum questions each week, no later than late Thursday night. So details are found on Canvas and in the syllabus about this. And then you'll be responding to other students and their posts no later than late Sunday night. So, please review the discussion post guidelines and make sure that makes sense to you. And remember, late, we usually mean it's about 11:50 p.m. is when the discussion forums on Canvas sort of auto cut off. So, try to get it, your post each week into each weekly discussion forum no later than 11:50 p.m. On Thursdays, and your responses to fellow students no later than 11:50 p.m. on Sundays. We also have an important module on help and support. So if you are experiencing, something significant that's impacting your ability to meet course requirements, and you could use some assistance. There is what they call the care team in the Office of the Dean of Student Life, and they're able to sort of link you up to resources that the university offers, that are best equipped to respond, effectively, to the concern that you're having, to the experience that you're having at that time. There's also information here on how to get involved with neuroscience research, how to get involved in Psych 452, the Advanced Neurophysiological Psychology course in winter term, lots of information about outreach, about like leaving your classroom, right, and getting out into the community, into K-12 schools, into houseless youth organizations, into correctional facilities, into rural schools. We like to get you off campus and into community spaces where you can hear from others and discover what people already know, right, about neuroscience and their brains, right, or what they'd like to know. And then you can have a dialogue. You can sort of see where the stories that you've got, right, from our classroom or from maybe some lab, volunteer work or internship that you're engaged in, might be worth sharing in that space. So if you're curious, under community outreach, there's a lot of opportunities that we've got set up for this term that I'd love to have you guys join us on. And there's more details there, and you can always just reach out if you've got any questions. We also have at Portland State University, right, an interdisciplinary neuroscience minor, which is a pretty unique kind of minor where we, consider perception and cognition and behavior and the brain, from multiple perspectives, not just sort of neuroscience research, but also art, right? Also speech and hearing sciences, also philosophy, also, politics, right? There's like a lot of really important and interesting points of connection, between these various fields. And if you're curious about pursuing an interdisciplinary neuroscience minor, there's more information under getting started and getting involved, on our Canvas course site as well. So there's a lot more information there, but I just wanted to say welcome, and we're going to be, setting off on a brain exploration kind of adventure this term, and I appreciate your questions and your enthusiasm, and I look forward to meeting you all both here, on Zoom and in person this term. So thank you for taking the class, and cheers.